Zucchini bread, a great way to use up all of that zucchini growing during the summer. In the bowl I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour that's unbleached, unbromated. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon each of baking powder, salt, and baking soda, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, and we'll just stir to combine well. For the wet ingredients, I have 3 large eggs at room temperature, adding 1 cup of vegetable oil, a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and 2 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. Just beat this until the ingredients are well combined. In my neighborhood in North Carolina, not too far from Raleigh, and in several other counties in the state, there's a company called theproducebox.com, and basically they bring farm fresh local produce to your home. The fruits and vegetables are picked about a day or 2 before they're delivered. So at any rate, zucchini's coming into season, and this zucchini bread with chocolate chips and walnuts is a great way to use up some of that zucchini. I add chocolate chips, that way my kids think it's dessert. And it really is, but you know, zucchini bread's pretty typical anyways. It's not such a foreign idea or recipe. But if I told my kids there was vegetables in there, they'd probably not eat it. Okay, that's nice and combined. And we're going to add the dry ingredients over that. I can't wait till my kids are older and they start watching all these videos and like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was in there. And it's like, yeah, it sure was, and you were eating it. Okay, so just sift this over here. We're going to beat this together just until you can barely see some of the dry ingredients left. Now, when you shred the zucchini, it does get a little moist, so it's got lots of water in it, and you don't want to drain it or use a napkin to get some of it out, some of the water out, because that's what's going to add a lot of the moisture to this recipe. Okay, here's 3 cups of shredded zucchini. Three-quarter cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and a cup of chopped walnuts. And we'll just mix that all together. And you'll see as the zucchini gets incorporated, the batter becomes a bit more wet. Takes a little bit of elbow grease here. I've got my oven preheating at 325 degrees, and I've already sprayed nonstick spray over 6 mini loaf pans. I love these mini loaf pans because whatever I'm baking in it, bread or cake, the crust doesn't get so dark because there's, you know, the bread or what have you cooks much faster in smaller loaves compared to a larger loaf pan. Let's see how wet that is. Another thing I like about this recipe is you can freeze the loaves once they're completely cooled, wrap them well in plastic wrap, And then I usually double freezer bag it. So the gallon size freezer bags, I put, I think 2 loaves can fit in each bag. And then I put that bag in another bag. And at any rate, it keeps well in the freezer. And so when there's last minute, you know, company, or if there's a family that's, you know, is needing neighborly help, it's always nice to have a loaf or two to kind of share and give away. Okay, this is ready. I'm going to use a 1 cup measuring cup to portion my batter. I'm just going to portion a couple of these loaf pans out for you. But basically, you use a 1 cup measuring cup. The last time I made this, I filled only 4 pans, and the bread rose out too much. It was too high. It wasn't as pretty as having a bread nicely formed over the loaf pans. So you're going to bake this. Arrange the mini loaf pans on a half sheet pan. It's easier to take the loaf pans in and out of the oven on one tray. And bake for 40 minutes. Then you're going to check for doneness. And if it still needs to cook, you bake another 10 and go from there. It smells so good in my kitchen. The zucchini bread just came out of the oven, and I'm going to let it cool for 10 minutes in the mini loaf pans, and then remove them and cool the bread completely on a wire rack. Now, I did have to cook this for 10 more minutes, so it was a total of 50 minutes to bake all 6 loaves right on the cookie sheet. I've started to depan some of these loaves already. It's hot. I actually like the zucchini bread at room temperature or cold out of the fridge. But there you go.